We all have areas to improve. We all have areas that we can be a little bit better in. It doesn't matter if you consider yourself an amazing teacher or you have a lot to work on. We all have things to work on. It's Ray Hewart, and I just wanted to share a few little tips and tricks for remote learning that I think will be really helpful if you're currently still figuring out how to manage all the moving pieces. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Ray Hewart. I'm currently a 6th grade math teacher in Central Illinois, as well as the Director of Training and Development for the Teach Better team. So if we're not connected, that literally just means I hang out with students by day and get to work with teachers by night and on the weekends and all summer long. I love to be able to kind of be in both worlds where I get to be in the classroom. I work with 150 kids every single day. And then on the flip side, I also get to do a lot of professional learning for districts that are looking to just have their teachers be a little bit better every single day. The Teach Better mindset for the Teach Better team is super simple. We all have areas to improve. We all have areas that we can be a little bit better in. It doesn't matter if you consider yourself an amazing teacher or you have a lot to work on. We all have things to work on, and we are not striving for perfection. We are just striving to reach all of our learners. So I love to be able to kind of have multiple different areas in which I get to work with teachers. And sometimes it's dealing with mastery learning. Sometimes it's dealing with connecting with your community. Sometimes it's really strategic classroom management suggestions. And that's kind of what we're focusing on really quick in this video, because in the current times where remote learning has become a reality and we continue to focus on relationships and making sure that we are providing rich learning opportunities of exploration for our students, I thought I'd share something that I learned a few years ago that I actually use in my classroom, and it has truly saved my life as I've transitioned to remote learning with my students. So let's get started. So for this page, you see that I have a Google Sheet open. There are a million ways to use what I'm about to talk to you about, but I really like a Google Sheet because my students are of an age that they can actually manipulate this themselves. I really allow them to take ownership over this process. You can do this with a number of different tech tools or other outlets. I just really like this one because it's easy and free. So what you're looking at now is called a tracking page, and I use this to not only track my students' success while they're going throughout our learning opportunities, but we also use it as a triage system to help me actually manage my students' needs in real time. So you'll see along the side, I have student names, and I've listed 7 example students. And what I've done is I've chunked my learning opportunities with my students by week. So you'll see that we actually only had a 3-day week, April 6th through the 10th. And then we have our current week is April 13th through the 17th. And what you'll see is below that, we have different things that were assigned for the students to work on. Now, for those of you that aren't aware of the grid method, that's the mastery framework that I use that kind of personalizes students' learning pathways. I'm not necessarily going to get into that right now, but if you're interested, there's a free course and a full course over at teachbetter.com, or better yet, over at teachbetteracademy.com, which is that virtual learning space for educators that the Teach Better team provides. What I love about the grid method is that it requires me to purposely scaffold learning opportunities. And so what I'm doing in remote learning is just creating mini grids for students. So every single week we have a focus. We're doing multiple learning opportunities to scaffold towards meeting that standard. We're doing a little bit of work to really work on that standard grade level. And then there's built-in enrichment opportunities for students, for those that are interested in extending their thinking. And so what you'll see here in the tracking page is when you see A, B, C, and D, those are different steps and levels in our grid. And then we have an enrichment section where students can dive a little bit deeper, go beyond the grade level expectation. So what I love about this is the colors that you'll see. So green in this section shows that the student is currently mastering that idea. So the students that are green in certain areas have completed the learning opportunities in that section, and they've proved mastery in it. So for a lot of this, it could be a really quick exit slip, or maybe it was a self check that they needed to take, or a quick check. But this just allowed them to get a dose of information, fully understand it, and then move forward to more challenging learning opportunities when they were ready at their own pace. Blue shows them that they are currently working on it. Now, the reason I love this is it gives me an immediate snapshot. If I want to pull groups or have students work together, I can see with these blue categories exactly who's working on similar things or who might soon be working on similar things to each other. So this is a really good opportunity for students to actually self-group themselves, but also for me as the teacher to strategically pull certain groups for either a Google Meets or just like a mass email I need to send out with information or little quick checks like that. The other colors you don't see in here that my students and I use very frequently are 3 colors that come from the triage system. So for those of you who may not have heard of the triage system before, it comes from a hospital where you have patients come in at all different times and the doctors need to evaluate who needs the care first. So somebody walking in who may have sprained their ankle needs different care than somebody who is in a car crash. And it doesn't necessarily matter who walked in the ER first, but more so how immediate their needs are. We can take that same idea and use it in the classroom. Chad Ostrowski, who's the creator of the grid method, created this system to help manage the self-paced mastery classroom that he then helps teachers use all over the country. And I have loved it for my classroom because it allows students to advocate for what they need and to be able to triage it so they're communicating to me what they need with the severity in which they need it. So here's how we do it. If a student uses red and shows on their tracking page that they have an immediate need, that shows me that their learning has stopped. So those are the first students I'm going to go to. They cannot actually continue their learning until their question gets answered. So I get to go to those students first and make sure they get the immediate feedback they need. If they're using yellow, it means they absolutely have a question, but it hasn't necessarily stopped their learning. They either have other things they can go do in the meantime, or they have other learning opportunities they can explore, but they do have a question that does need my support. This could be anything, but it does allow me a little bit of grace time to get to those red questions first and leave those yellows for my second batch of students that I'm going to go and make sure that they have their needs met. The other thing I really love to implement are other colors that my students have slowly asked for me to build in here to communicate other things, like orange. Orange became a very popular color in my classroom because students using orange needed some sort of conference. And so this was them advocating, I did something, I'm ready for teacher feedback on this. I'm still going to move forward with other learning opportunities because I really feel like I'm ready for that, but I'm going to keep this orange until I have that teacher check. So it's a really great way when I log on to this sheet to say, who are the immediate students I need to work with because they have questions, and who are the immediate students that just need a conference with me that I can make sure that I do that. And the best part is they're using these colors at the levels on the tracking page. So when they are bright red on A, I know exactly what A includes. I probably can start thinking around what questions they may have. And that's kind of the same component I use for conferencing. If they need a conference on level C, I know exactly what learning opportunity they need that conference on. I know exactly how long it's going to take. And I can determine before I even pull my students to chat how many students I want to pull at once. Some conferences I might be able to pull a small group. Some conferences I may want to do alone. And so I have all that information at my fingertips using this tracking page. Other colors we've used in the past are students that use purple for brain breaks or little things like that. But again, I use this not only when I'm in the classroom, but also now that we're in a remote learning session, because students really understand that this is their space to keep track of their tools, to advocate for their needs, and to really keep everybody in the classroom updated. The last thing I'm going to update you on and how I use this is not only for my own benefit as a teacher, but to create leaders within the classroom. You'll see in our tracking page that student 3 and student 6 are on level B, but I have other students like student 5 who's on level D. So that means that not only do I have students that are working on different things, but if student 3 has a question, they can absolutely make sure that they get that answered from me, but they also could go to any one of the other students who've already passed that learning opportunity and get those questions answered. So when a student puts up a red or a yellow, it does not necessarily mean it is a teacher question. so other students in the classroom can see that red or yellow, engage with that student using other tools like chats or Hangouts, and make sure that they get that solved. And I may not even be involved at all. I might just get an update later in their goal setting and reflection. So there's a lot of different elements of this, but I hope this gives you a little taste of how you can manage everything going on right now. I know so many teachers, we're all feeling overwhelmed. We all just want to serve our students well. And while I have a ton of other things I would suggest in terms of goal setting and reflection and creating learning opportunities that are dynamic and all these other things, I hope that this gives you a little taste of how you can manage your classroom a little bit differently and allow students to really take the ownership over this time of learning, because we care about them. We want them to be successful. So thank you for all that you do. I hope we stay connected. You can find me on social media at Ray Hughart and connect with the Teach Better team at the Teach Better team on all social media. We also have a very active private group and a ton of blogs, downloads, courses, and a ton of resources over at teachbetter.com. So I suggest you head there if you want to check any of this out. Thanks for all that you do, guys, and I hope we stay connected.